Hello, my name is Pastor Philip Buck. I help to pastor a local church here in the greater Chicagoland area. If you're listening to this message, it's because somebody you know wants you to be aware of a rather significant issue that's happening in our area. There are two bills that I want you to be aware of. The first one in our state house and the second in the state senate. The one in the house being HB 4870 is a mandate specifically regarding the HPV vaccine. This bill states that HPV vaccine is required after a certain age in all schools. That's right, I said all schools. That's a change in language. It includes public school, private school, parochial school, and in our state, homeschooling because it falls underneath the private school sector. That means if for any reason you decide as a parent or a child or as a student not to receive this vaccine, you can either break the law or leave the state. Now, I'm not trying to tell you the science behind the HPV vaccine or anything of that nature. What I want you to do is read the bill for yourself. The one that's in the Senate is SB 3668. This one has much more significant language. It starts off by removing the religious exemption. That, as pastors, should concern us. If an individual, for religious grounds, decided they did not want to receive a particular vaccine, they would be breaking the law. And again, the language of this bill specifically mandates this is for both public, private, and parochial schools, and like I mentioned earlier, homeschooling falls underneath our private sector. So if a parent or a student decided they did not want to follow the CDC's recommendations for vaccines, they would either have to break the law or leave the state. The bill goes even further to state that if a student does not follow the recommended CDC schedule, that the parent is guilty of neglect. That means that a parent could have Child Protective Services called on them for simply not following the CDC's recommendation. What I also want you to be aware of in this bill is that it moves the age of accountability from 18 down to 14, meaning that a 14-year-old could go in and demand for any shot and receive it, regardless of the parent's point of view, religious or otherwise. This applies to both public schools, private schools, parochial schools, and like I said earlier, homeschooling also falls into our private school sector. It goes as far as to remove the Mercury Free Act as well. Here's my ask. If you disagree with any parts of these bills, please contact your local representatives. I also ask this. Prayerfully consider how you communicate to your congregation and your community regarding these issues. I want to thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. Obviously, this is an issue that's very dear to my heart. But as biblical scholars and as biblical leaders, it is our responsibility to communicate clearly to our members and to our communities about biblical truths. Thank you very much for your time, and God bless.